Well, you can kind of tell by what's above what kind of week this has been. Not just for NFL fans, but just not just sports fans as well, but the world in general. Um, so, of course, I'm talking about Demar Hamlin and what happened. Of course, this show's going to go a little bit differently today because of that. We do not have our takeaways. We're going to just kind of bring you guys the story. I know you probably heard it 1,000 times this week,
You're right.
but we want to give our insight on it and our thoughts and opinions on what's going to happen going forward. So that'll be the first half of the show, and then we'll have our picks in the second half, including the college football playoff championship. But before we do that, of course, I'm going to put the GoFundMe link in the description if any of our viewers or listeners want to donate to the Chasing M's Foundation. So be sure to consider that. It benefits Demar Hamlin and his charity. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But, of course, we want to get right to discussing what happened. So, Monday Night Football, of course, Demar Hamlin took what was a routine hit. Nothing dirty, nothing malicious. Got up and collapsed right on the field. And Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals doctors both had to kind of perform CPR, and he had to be basically revived on the field. Was taken out by ambulance, taken to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. He was knocked out or had to be revived again. Was kind of put to sleep for the time being. Taken to ICU. As of Saturday, he is now awake, and his condition is improving. However, he is still listed in critical condition in the hospital. As far as the game, we learned this week that real life trumps the game, and it was a good stance to take for the coaches. I can't say the league after what happened. So this is to Roger Goodell. But yeah, so the game did not resume, and on Friday they announced the game will not resume whatsoever. There will be no result posted. We will get into the playoff implications a little bit later, but we want to focus as well on the positive. So donations to Demar's Chasing M Foundation has now surpassed the $8 million mark. He only had a goal of a couple 100,000. It is now at $8 million.
I was just gonna state that actually his goal was only 2,500.
Yeah.
And it surpassed over 8 million. So yeah. I'm pretty sure, and the whole thing with this whole donation is he wanted to give back to his community because his mom I think is a teacher in Pittsburgh, because he's from Pennsylvania. He went to school at Pitt.
Oh yeah.
He actually used to be former teammates with now Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett. So, and also multiple different players like Mike Tomlin even stated that he's known the kid since he was like 12 years old. Which is crazy. I mean, he's probably talking a lot of truth because, he's a Pittsburgh boy through and through. So, the whole thing with this game, too, I didn't initially see when the hit happened live at all.
Neither did I.
I actually had to watch it after the fact. The hit was it was a football hit through and through. It's a tough hit to take. Do I think that it probably could have been approached a little bit differently, taking down
No.
DeMar? Oh, of course, yes. 100% through and through. Could have probably been a different kind of hit. It probably could have been a little bit softer of a hit, but
it wouldn't have taken him down. That's
like what's happening. It's kind of tough to stop your momentum carrying you into, tackling the player.
Yeah. Well,
could he have gone with the legs and brought him down that way? Yeah, maybe.
But it probably wouldn't have changed anything. That's the thing that people don't understand. You can't blame the hit for...
It would have just been a tackle for loss. It really does suck to see a player of like Demar Hamlin have to go through that, even on the field and in general, because if it wasn't for the assistant medical staffer, we would probably have a different kind of discussion on this show right now. We probably would.
See, the thing that
even Mick Foley, who is a New Yorker himself, stated that this whole moment reminded him of Owen Hart, who did actually pass away in the ring. Of course, back in 1999, it was Over the Edge pay-per-view. He was suspended overhead. The harness snapped, fell straight down. I think he hit his head on a turnbuckle, died on impact from that, and was in the ring, passed away. Mick Foley stated that it reminded him a lot of that, seeing him and all the players around. But the difference about this is that after Owen Hart died, they still resumed the pay-per-view. This was also on Coach McDermott and Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor, I think, and the Bengals were ready to replay that game. It was Sean McDermott himself that took the initiative of ending this game and not replaying it, because he's a team-first player. He's always cared about his players. The 6 years that he has been in Buffalo, he has changed the culture. He has changed. This is not about just football players. This is a family, and I think because of that, Sean McDermott should be the coach of the year, just based off of what he has done for this team this year and getting his players, mentally prepared for everything that has happened with Demar Hamlin. That shows a lot of character for Coach McDermott. Shows a lot of character for the players too.
I mean, let's be fair that this Buffalo team has had so many mental obstacles along the way.
I think Buffalo in general has had a lot of obstacles going in their way. I mean, they've had the shootings.
Yeah, the top shooting.
The 60-plus people that have lost their lives trapped in the snow.
2 big snowstorms. It wasn't just the one. This one was just the more massive one of the two of them. And then you add in now Demar Hamlin. And also, the one that nobody's talking about right now is John Murphy, the voice of the Buffalo Bills.
Suffered a stroke last weekend.
Yeah, and will not be in the booth until further notice. So, also prayers to John Murphy as well for a quick recovery. Of course, he's been the longtime voice of the Buffalo Bills.
Sports, radio, yeah. So if anybody, that listens to our show local-wise, he's usually the voice that you hear with Eric Wood on the Buffalo Bills radio.
On WGR and WFAN.
And 5. Or if you're in Buffalo, usually 5.
WGR, their Sports 550. Exactly. That's what I'd said, but...
He's always been the legendary voice of the Buffalo Bills, so I'm hoping for a speedy recovery for him.
I think
Demar Hamlin's condition is improving. He was moving his arms and legs. He's actually been talking.
He posted on Instagram too.
Yes, he posted on Instagram saying that he has loved all the support he's been getting. He still wants us to pray for him to get better. which we will. I mean, I'm sure all teams are going to do a silent prayer or moment of silence
Yep.
to pray for Demar Hamlin. So I'm loving that. All teams have painted the number 3 by the 30 on both sides for Buffalo's. I think all teams. I'm pretty sure it's all 32 teams have done it. Or at least all. Most like 16 teams, I should say, because technically the 32 teams will be playing, but there will be 16 fields that will have it. So,
and the Buffalo Bills today have gone out and asked their fans to bring red hearts, big red hearts to the game to show love for Demar. And in addition, the one that many didn't see as well, the Buffalo Sabres came into the arena the other night with giant love for 3 shirts. And fans actually posted or they put posters on the glass boards saying, love for Demar. And Twitter actually changed the hashtag, I noticed earlier. So they have now added the Buffalo Bills number 3 to the end of the hashtag love for Demar. Twitter has now gotten into the game with this. So, I will say, as far as I go, I didn't see the hit either live. And to be honest, I've been so messed up with my sleep lately that I woke up at like 2 in the morning. And I looked at my phone because first instinct is I'm in fantasy championships and I'm in a third place game, which I did end up winning money in, but that's obviously besides the point in this situation. But every app kept saying postponed. So I'm like, what's going on? Why is it saying postponed? There's no way that the game didn't finish unless there were like thunderstorms, and they're in Cincinnati, so there's no way there's thunderstorms this time of the year. So go to Twitter. And the whole wall on Twitter was just Demar Hamlin, prayers, hope he's okay. And, of course, Skip Bayless's annoying tweet, which we're not going to discuss. I'm not going to give him the validation for what he said.
Nope. I'm not going to give him... On this show, everybody, we are not going to give him the light of day at all.
But
because, you know what? It's not worth our time.
What I will say, though, after all this, and I think this is the big point here. Keep in mind, we live in a country, for those who are listening in the U.S., we live in a country, it's very divided, and I'm sorry, I have to go into the politics here of it. The right hates the left hates the right. But you notice in this instance, everyone has kind of come together. Okay? And I wish it didn't take these incidents to drag everybody together. And not just, outside of football, but inside of football as well. I mean, I think it really brings humanity back to the game, humanity back in the world, especially seeing the 8+ million in donations that the Chasing M Foundation has raised.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's just good to see the humanity that has come from it. And, we both talk all the time, and you hear me bash Kansas City constantly and say how much I hate Patrick Mahomes. In the heat of the moment, man, sometimes I wish he was taken out of the game completely. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, those thoughts cross my head, but at the same time, looking at this, I'm like, clearly I don't mean it like that. And, I think Jason can say the same thing about the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Jets.
mean,
you obviously don't want to see it anywhere. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy.
No, I wouldn't want to wish it on my worst enemy, but there would definitely be times where it was like, damn, this player is just. It would be nice to be like not having to worry about him out there. But
can I also just draw attention real quick to the thing that nobody is really discussing, and I think it's more what the hell is going through T. Higgins' head right now. Okay, nobody has discussed what's up with T. Higgins this whole week.
Honestly, T. Higgins has come to terms of it after hearing all the good news.
Yeah.
Of course, Demar Hamlin's mom has talked to T. Higgins, and I'm pretty sure she's been praying for him. It's like, hey, it's all right. I don't take any
Yeah.
liberties out on you type of thing. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they've talked it through, and he's been able to cope with everything that's happened.
Mhm.
And so has the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Well,
And both teams are going to be able to go out there. I mean,
I
see,
think it
I feel
also
like
speaks.
it's going to be harder. Sorry. It's going to be harder for the Cincinnati Bengals, who are going to be playing on that same field against the Baltimore Ravens, than
Yeah.
it would be for the Buffalo Bills, who are going to be playing on their field and won't have those kind of, memories going back in their head
Yeah.
going out there. Cincinnati, it might be tougher because now they're going back out on that field where that incident happened.
Mhm.
It's going to be tougher for them.
Yeah.
Same thing for T. Higgins. T. Higgins, it might be hard for him to go out there and play that game. It might, because he's going to be, oh shit, this was the same, area where I tackled said player. So, who knows? T. Higgins might not even play in that game because he's going to still feel some sort of guilt. But then again, DeMar would want him to go out there and play.
Yeah.
Just it's a tough situation. But honestly, I pray for T. Higgins because your mental psyche after something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I say the distraction. As much as we should pray for DeMar. The focus should also be on T. Higgins because, you're on the end of it where you're losing sleep. I mean, when Dale Earnhardt died, and I go back to this as well. I mean, you brought up wrestling. I go back to Daytona where Dale Earnhardt lost his life in a crash at Daytona. I don't think anybody at that time thought, well, how Ken Schrader feels because Ken Schrader was the one who got into it with him in the wall.
Right.
So, I think the focus not only should be on DeMar, but on T. Higgins. I mean, primarily DeMar.
Jr. feel about losing his dad in an instance.
Yeah.
Because he was a lifelong, driver in NASCAR.
Well, I mean, people worried about him, obviously. He was a part of the family. But what I'm saying is the person that was involved directly in the incident.
I know.
People seem to neglect that. Unless it's intentional, then obviously, that's a different story. But those two instances were not intentional. They were just freak accidents.
It's always a tough situation. There really is. But I think I don't know if you want to head into the playoff implications.
Before I do, I do want to mention because we didn't say this. I'm also going to say it speaks to how what happened, what we saw on Monday, speaks volumes about how much respect over the years the Bengals and the Bills have had for each other.
I agree.
And this leads into my next point of this. Of course, the Bengals, if you recall, were the team that ended the Buffalo Bills playoff drought. One of the longest ones in the history of the game. And
up in 2017.
Yeah, 2017. And of course, it came on Andy Dalton's arm. And, well, Andy Dalton, his charity benefited greatly from it because Bills fans blew up his charity site, with donations.
And Buffalo wings, too.
And Duff's sent him wings.
Yep.
Duff's, for those who don't know, big Buffalo wing place. But Andy Dalton and his wife repaid the favor by donating, I believe, $5,000 to the charity. Other names, of course, Tom Brady, Jim Irsay were big names that donated to the charity as well. So, again, I think it speaks a lot to humanity and that, Society is not a shithole like we seem to think it is, regardless of what side you align with, or, regardless of what your beliefs are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely speaks volumes that a lot of players will come together in time of need of something like this.
Players and
But
people, honestly.
sad that it has to be an incident like that where the world comes together and say, it doesn't matter, if you're my enemy, my friend, somebody I hardly talk to, today we're going to be all, in favor of number 3, and we're all going to be with Buffalo. So,
and of course, continued thoughts and prayers for number 3. All right. Well, we do have to talk about this. We do have to switch gears in the story to the playoff implications now, because there have been some changes. So, of course, the Chiefs have officially secured the number 1 seed. They won on Saturday 31-13. But there's other implications now. So congratulations to the Chiefs. Sorry, I'm going to be a little bit insensitive here, but congratulations to the Chiefs on winning a number 1 seed you didn't deserve, and a number 1 seed you didn't earn, or wouldn't have earned had that game finished, potentially. So, sorry, not sorry for that statement. And again, I do it all out of love for the game as I point up to the number 3. So people don't think that I just say things because I wish the worst on people. But playoff implications, of course, the big one is the Bengals. The Ravens and the Bengals will face off tomorrow. I don't remember if it's 1 or 4:25. They never really announced that. The Bengals have locked up the division because the game was canceled. And as a result, the Bengals...
The Baltimore Ravens are not happy about that one.
The Bengals are livid. Both teams are not happy about this situation. So home field for the first round matchup, if these two teams play each other, it'll be determined by a coin toss if the Ravens win. The home field advantage will be determined by a coin toss.
I still think that's kind of crazy. I mean, I can see where the Bengals are pissed off about this.
Yeah.
And I do. But in the end of the day, it's the decision of the NFL. It's actually the decision. It was, it all came down on the owners.
Yeah.
Bengals were trying anything they could. They were even sending emails out to owners saying, don't approve this proposal.
Yeah. No.
But in the end of the day, you had to do what's right for all these teams that were affected.
Well, there's no way to right what was wrong in this situation without playing the game. And to play the game, it would, there was no winning in this situation. That's the bottom line.
See, if this game was to happen earlier in the year, it would have been easier to reschedule it without having to move anything back.
Yeah, exactly.
But since it came so close to the playoffs, they did the right thing in canceling the game.
Yeah, because then, even if the teams were okay playing it on a Wednesday, next week, or this week now, it would have been, even if they didn't push anything back, it would have been a short week. You can't do that.
No, it would have been an extremely short week. And then fatigue would have been setting in, because then you play that game on a Wednesday, and then you had to prepare for either having to play on Saturday or Sunday.
It would have been bad for the Bengals regardless. It would have been okay for the Bills if the Bills won, because the Bills would have still had the bye week.
It would have been bad for Cincinnati because they would have had to play.
Yeah. No matter what.
No matter what. Unless you somehow move that game to like a Monday, maybe.
Yeah. But, here's how it goes. Then the other big thing. Now, the Bengals were included in this neutral site proposal, but no longer a concern because the Bengals needed both the Chiefs and the Bills to lose this week. if the Bills and the Chiefs already did win, so now if the Bills win tomorrow in their 1 o'clock matchup, both teams, if they advance to the AFC Championship, the game would be played on a neutral site. Now, Indianapolis was the number one location for this neutral site game. It is no longer under consideration as Indianapolis has withdrawn or they have said that they will not host it. Which I find funny because Indianapolis loves to host the national championship, every 2 years and host a whole tournament during COVID. So,
I know.
Spoiled ass city, that's all I can say.
Site, which I think it's safe to say, and I don't want to just go out and say that any game is an easy win, but I'm pretty sure Buffalo's going to have a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to go into Orchard Park, and I think they're going to beat up on the New England Patriots because the last time that they played the New England Patriots at home, and I know it was the playoff game, they won a perfect 7-for-7 playoff drive, and they put out 49 points on the New England Patriots. It's safe to say that could happen again. They could put 50 or past 50 on the New England Patriots. Not saying it's going to happen, but it wouldn't be out of the realm either. I honestly think that what was I going to say? I honestly think that Buffalo, it's safe to say that they're probably going to win this game. Maybe not. Who knows? And safe to say that if both teams, which I do think that they'll both be an AFC Championship game, because this reminds me a lot of the 2020 playoffs during COVID, where Buffalo got to the AFC Championship game and then had to play 2 home games and then play, in Kansas City for the AFC Championship game. This kind of is going to go full circle where they're going to probably play each other in the AFC Championship game, but this time it's not going to be played in Kansas City. I think it's going to be played in Detroit.
I think Detroit too, honestly.
Buffalo's home away from home. Buffalo has already won twice in Detroit. Who knows what's going to happen then?
Yeah.
But also, I hate to kind of shift off of gears, but that game for the Chiefs against the Raiders, didn't it kind of seem more like a home game for the Chiefs than it did a home game for the Raiders?
I mean, because the Raiders don't care anymore. That's why, when they suck so bad.
Because there seem to be a lot of Chiefs fans there in Las Vegas.
Yeah, but I want to stay on track here, so I'm going to say this.
As far as a neutral site, I'm thinking it's probably going to be an NFC team.
Yeah. I'd say
or
Detroit,
NFC Stadium.
See, again,
because you could even send it to Houston. Yeah. Houston could be an option.
I don't know. But I will say this. In terms of the changes, I think I don't want to reward a team like Pittsburgh or Miami or New England by giving them an 8 seed, but I feel like this would have been the only way to prevent a bye week, because I don't think the Chiefs should get a bye week on a team not playing their full 17 games because of this kind of instance. Now, if, we were still in the COVID pandemic and the Bills, broke protocol, or the Bengals broke protocol, then absolutely they should get the bye week on that, because that was your screw up.
Right.
And,
even when that season did happen, that Bills-Titans game, I remember because they got played on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, Titans should have had to forfeit this game because they have half their players out on COVID. But again, as far as this goes, I agree. I think that I saw a lot before they made all these proposals and approved them,
Mm-hmm.
there were reports that saying, "Oh, it could be,
Yeah.
both NFC and AFC have an
I wouldn't have
8-team
been
playoff,
okay
but
with the
the first
NFC.
seed doesn't get a first round bye." That's what I think should have been.
I think it
But
should have
then
been just the
look at it,
AFC.
huh?
I think it should have just been the AFC. The NFC, no.
Yeah, but the
Because
thing is that if you do that, then
but the game
it
didn't
kind of
impact the
throws off.
NFC. That's what I don't get there. Is the game had no bearing on anything in the NFC. So why are we going to punish the
Personally,
NFC with no bye when the whole
right.
incident was in the AFC?
Personally, I don't get why the NFL doesn't have an 8-team playoff because all other sports have 8 teams in both conferences.
Yeah.
NBA, NHL.
Well, the
I
NBA is
don't.
now like 20 teams thanks to that play-in bullshit that they do.
I know. Um, to be honest with you, it wouldn't be far off if the NFL does eventually go that route for 8 teams.
Probably.
But as far as this, I mean, I guess this is a great alternative. I mean, there's no guarantee that the Buffalo Bills will probably get to the AFC Championship game. It would be nice, but
I mean, there's no way to please everybody, so I mean, I guess they
right.
kind of did okay. I mean, again, I would have taken the bye week from the Chiefs, but that's just
Personally,
me.
if you were, say, like if you were a staff member, if you were the commissioner of the NFL, how would you have viewed this any differently for at least the Cincinnati Bengals? Because at least you're doing probably the right thing for the Bills
Yeah.
for the AFC Championship game if they get there. As far as the Cincinnati Bengals,
See,
it's kind of
it's
tough
robbery.
because
That's the thing. Like, if you marked the Bills with the loss, it would have been all hell broken loose. If you marked the Bengals with a tie, it would have caused even more, stuff. So I feel like, in a way, this is the thing that, I feel like it was what would make people less angry. And I feel like they were just like, this would make people less angry and make it feel less tainted.
mm,
So that's ultimately what it came down to.
I mean, as far as the Bengals, I mean, yeah, they got basically gift wrapped the division because of the cancellation of the game.
But on the other side of it, the Chiefs got handed the AFC on that because you knew the Vegas Raiders weren't going to lose or win.
Oh, I know. But I look at it this way. I think what you could have done to make the Baltimore Ravens a little bit happier is had them maybe host the wild card if they played each other. But then, I mean, Cincinnati's basically going to be mad at that situation in general. They think, oh no, we shouldn't have to play in Baltimore. We should have to play in Cincinnati, at our home. Well, but if Baltimore loses, you won't have to worry about it being, on a coin flip. But I could have sworn the coin flip would have been no matter if they were playing each other in a wild card game in general.
Yeah. So.
But as far as that goes, I think it's probably safe to go on our anger break.
Yes, sir. I'd say so as well. When we come back, we'll have our Week 18 picks. We apologize for not having that video up Saturday. We just didn't have time to tape it. But we'll have the picks for the Sunday games, and then we'll have our picks for the National Championship game that'll take place tomorrow at SoFi Stadium. But until then, we'll be back in just a moment. All right, welcome back. We got our Sunday picks first, so we'll start with the Bucks and the Falcons, and the Falcons are favored by 4.
I don't like that. I'm gonna have to go with the Bucks here on the road.
Bucks got nothing to lose. They might be the only team in the NFL that's going to rest their starters. So I could see the Ravens winning this game, honestly.
You mean the Falcons?
Or I'm sorry, the Falcons. Oh my gosh. I'm losing my mind. So I could see the Falcons winning this game just on the fact that really, I mean, how long, if at all, are they going to play Brady?
True.
So,
I mean, who even is their backup anyway? I mean, I know it's not Mike Lennon anymore.
It's Blaine Gabbert.
Oh, that's right, Blaine Gabbert. I think
Mr.
Blaine Gabbert
Hero.
can go out and
Mr.
go win a
Hero.
game for. Huh?
Said Mr. Hero. I don't know if you heard. Blaine Gabbert saved some people in a burning car or in a car crash or something the other day. So,
Oh wow.
yeah. But anyway, on to the next game. Patriots and Bills. Bills favored by 7.
Sorry, Patriots fans. Safe to say your season's done and over with. I'm going with the Bills.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bills as well in this. I think they got a lot to play for here. Vikings and Bears. Minnesota favored by 6.
I'm going to go with the Vikings. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings here. I don't think the Bears are going to have a chance in hell of winning this game.
Bears are a dumpster fire. Kirk Cousins is playing at his favorite time of the day, so I would say it's going to be the Vikings.
Okay.
All right.
Go there.
Probably the most angry and intense game we're going to see all weekend, Ravens and Bengals. Bengals favored by 9.
I think the Bengals are going to... You're going to see their pissed off nature show up in this game. I think they're going to run up the score on Baltimore.
No Lamar, no problem. Cincy in this game. Texans and Colts. Basically the battle for the shit bowl. Colts favored by 2.5.
The Texans here, they always seem to give the Colts fits. Usually 1 week out of the every year. So I'm gonna go with Texans on the road.
I'm gonna go Texans too. The Indianapolis Colts are too dysfunctional to pull off wins. So, Jets Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 3, and no Tua, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's going to be Thompson starting again. I'm going to go with the Jets. I really do think that Joe Flacco is going to come into Miami and beat up on the Dolphins here.
Man.
Which will end the Dolphins season, too.
And possibly Mike McDaniel's coaching career already.
Yeah,
that's
all reports, by the way. Nothing true or false right now. It's just reports, but I think that it might happen, and that they could be in the running for Sean McVay or
Sean Payton.
Sean Payton.
That would be the worst mistake the Dolphins would make, and I know I said last year firing Brian Flores was a big mistake. This one would be the hold my beer moment. I'm going to go with the Dolphins, though. I think they're going to win. I think they will squeak into that 7 seed, only to get pummeled the next week by Buffalo. So
yeah.
But again, I'll save that pick for next week. Panthers, Saints in the battle of the Who Cares Bowl. New Orleans favored by 3.5.
I mean, before Tampa Bay came back, they were looking pretty good against Tampa, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the Saints here at home.
The Saints have kind of figured it out the second half of the year, so I would say I'd go with New Orleans as well. But with that, we go on to the next game, the Browns and the Steelers. The Steelers favored by 2.5, and keep in mind, If they win this game, they continue their streak of winning seasons in Pittsburgh. If they lose, that's it.
Mark it here. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to play the Buffalo Bills next week in Buffalo because the Dolphins and the Patriots will both lose. Mark it down. Steelers are going to get the win here. Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh are going to... Kenny Pickett is going to help the Pittsburgh Steelers get into the postseason. And you're going to see another winning season for Mike Tomlin, even though it's by one game.
And let's slow your roll here. Now, I know everybody says right now Sean McDermott, Andy Reid. I know all the attention is on Sean McDermott, Andy Reid, Zach Taylor as the top 3 coaches in the NFL, and Sean McVay too, because Sean McVay won a Super Bowl. Slow your roll, because this guy, for the longest time, has been Mr. Consistent in putting together winning teams, and he doesn't get half the credit he deserves as a head coach. So that said, I'm going with the Steelers.
Yeah. And mark it down. Steelers, Bills, wild card next week. Book it.
I'm telling you right now, Mike Tomlin is the Rodney Dangerfield of football at this very moment. He gets no respect for how good he's been over the years.
Honestly, I will say this too. I don't want to delve too deep into this, but I think Mike Tomlin should just win the Coach of the Year alone if he wins this game and gets Pittsburgh into the playoffs.
Turns this team around from being a tanking team to being a playoff team.
I think he should win the Coach of the Year alone just off of that.
So, Chargers, Broncos. Broncos favored by 3.
Are they high?
It's in Colorado. That's a dumb question right there. Come on.
Are they even going to start any of their starters for this game?
They still can. They can still lock up the 5 seed if they win.
Oh, okay. So safe to say they definitely are. I hate to say it, Chargers are going to win this game. The Broncos are just a dumpster fire, and I don't even care if it's, Russell Wilson or not.
The only thing that scares me is how close the Broncos came to beating the Chiefs last week. Okay, that shouldn't have happened. So I kind of agree, but I'm gonna go with my team as a cautiously optimistic gamble. So fingers crossed. There is all I can say. Giants and Eagles. Jalen Hurts is back. Both teams are in the playoffs. I mean, the Eagles can lock up the number 1 seed with a win and the NFC East. So,
to be honest with you, I do not like the line. I don't. I'd say the Eagles are going to win, but I do not see it being by 16 points.
And you can say what you want about Patrick Mahomes beating the passing record, winning, MVP. This guy is going to prevent him from having a unanimous MVP run, and he's going to do it in this game. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles win, and it's going to be by 10 or more. Sorry. I mean, I agree that the line's excessive, but it's still going to be a 2-point possession win. Or a 2-possession win.
Okay.
So, Cardinals 49ers, another one that is so inflated. And the Niners are favored by 14.5 over David Blau and the Cardinals.
Personally, I think that the 49ers should probably rest Brock Purdy because you already won a division.
But you're still playing for the potential of the number 1 seed.
That's true, too. So you know what? I'm going to go with the 49ers, and I think they are going to onslaught the Arizona Cardinals.
Would this be a wacky bet if I just said, if I go back and say Giants win, 49ers win, Vikings lose, and Cowboys lose, and then Brock Purdy, Mr. Relevant, takes them to that number 1 seed? It's not going to happen. Any
given Sunday, that could just happen.
But I will say I am going to go with the 49ers in this. I'm not changing any of my prior picks. Sorry. Rams, Seahawks, and I believe the Seahawks need a lot of help to get in. And one of them is beating the LA Rams. And they are 6-point favorites.
Oh, I want to say that's going to happen. The Seahawks are going to beat the Rams. I don't know if they're going to get into the playoffs because, I mean, of course it's coming up, and we'll talk about that one, but I don't see them getting into the playoffs. Sorry to say that. Yeah. Seahawks, you'll be 9-8, but miss the playoffs.
I might go for the upset here, to be honest. I think Baker Mayfield, Cam Akers, and Tyler Higbee are going to run the tables here and make this a close game. I'm going to say Rams by 3, honestly. I think it's going to come off a Matt Gay game-winning field goal.
It could.
But anyway, Dallas and the Commandos. Dallas is favored by 7 in what could be Ron Rivera's last game as an NFL head coach.
It's sad. It's sad because the Commanders had so much promise to try to become a playoff team, and they just messed it up. I'm gonna definitely say the Cowboys because they're still fighting for number 1 seed and also the division, so they need this game in a major way. But it wouldn't shock me if the Commanders, who are, by the way, starting their rookie for the first time this season.
What do they got to lose with that, though, to be honest,
I think that you should have started him sooner to see what kind of, see what you get out of him. The last game of the year, I think that's rough because you're going up against a Cowboys team who has a decent defense. I really will say I think the Cowboys are going to onslaught the Commanders. I think Sam Howell is going to have himself a really shitty day.
Here's the thing. Washington definitely has some things to work on. I think, getting Chase Young back late in the year, it kind of gives them something to build on. And obviously starting Sam Howell, I mean, they have a good offense put together. It's just, unfortunately, they're just not in a good position right now. So I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys, but I think, if Sam Howell plays well in this game, it may give the Commanders something to look forward to going into 2023. But
true.
And so it goes, the final regular season game of the year. The Lions and the Packers win, and you're in. And guess what? Green Bay's favored by 5 points.
As much as I would love to see the Lions get in, because they've had such a great season this year, Green Bay has looked good the last few weeks. They've turned it around. They were 4-8. They've won the last 4 games to get to an 8-8 record. I think they're going to win 5 in a row and get into the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Packers at home.
I wonder how much hype is too much hype, because I feel like everyone is like circling the wagons on Green Bay right now. But we forget Dan Campbell has found something. I'm not saying that Detroit is for sure getting in, but I will say that in this instance, I think they squeak out with this one. I think they see how much hype Aaron Rodgers is getting right now and the Packers for this miraculous late season run, and I think they're going to come into Lambeau and spoil it. So I'm going to predict a Detroit playoff berth here today and a first round exit. But hey, a berth.
You're probably not wrong.
So a berth at that. So they'll be in. I think they beat Green Bay and pull off the big upset.
Well, I mean, if Detroit does get into the playoffs, it definitely will save Dan Campbell's job. If they miss, it's tough to say if
You
Dan
gotta let
Campbell
him keep his
job
job.
after this year.
You gotta, after that run this year.
I know, but a lot of teams are like, you know, they always the coaches getting teams in the playoffs is always something that teams want to see. Like, are you going to consistently be able to do this going forward? I mean, if they do get in the playoffs and win this game, I think it's going to save Dan Campbell's job. If they don't, it's tough to say. I would say probably one more year under Dan Campbell. But if he wins this game, gets in the playoffs, I think it's gonna save his job for at least a few more years.
So, yeah, I think his job's safe regardless. I will say a winner loss could make the difference between him being in the discussion for Coach of the Year and him being out of it.
Right.
I mean, like I said, all the attention's going to be on Andy Reid and Sean McDermott, but we can't lose sight of those other guys. So, with that, though, we want to shift our attention to the biggest game in the next 2 days. Yes, this is bigger than I think some of these NFL matchups. TCU, the unlikely championship team, is going to face the defending champs at the University of Georgia. The Bulldogs are favored by 12.5, and mind you, if they win on Monday night, they will be the first back-to-back champions since Alabama did it in 2011 and 2012. And again, Georgia favored by 12.5.
And I'm pretty sure those 2 years is when they had A.J. McCarron as their quarterback, too.
I believe so, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pulling for the Georgia Bulldogs. I think that they're going to do it. Because what better way to have number 13 there, who was apparently a walk-on for Georgia, too, heading into the NFL draft, than winning 2 national championships in back-to-back years. I think that really will solidify him, and his draft stock is going to go super up. I think he will probably be number one top pick. He'll probably go to Houston, which kind of sucks for him, but hey, it is something. It is whatever.
Right. His college football story will be as good as Kurt Warner's, so hey.
Oh, maybe it will. Who knows?
But
Except that Kurt Warner was a walk-on in the NFL. It went
undrafted free agent, yeah.
And then was a walk-on with the Rams, and then eventually won a championship with them. So, who knows? Maybe. I'm going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs. But then again, it always seems to be the underdog that ends up winning these games. So, it could end up being TCU, but I'm thinking that it's going to be the Georgia Bulldogs here.
I think, though, this is going to be closer. I think that spread is a little bit disrespectful, with all due respect.
Right.
Because, keep in mind, TCU, I believe, had to beat Michigan to get in, and Ohio State and Georgia went to a high-scoring...
something like that,
They had a high-scoring matchup, and one that Georgia barely survived. So, I think this game's going to be close, but I think Georgia will barely pull this one out. I think it'll be by that 3-point margin. So, I think Georgia squeaks out just barely. So, that's my pick. That's our picks for the week. For Tinkle on this, in light of everything that has happened this week, we figured let's keep it light. So we flipped to wrestling, kind of. And Chris Jericho, of course, I believe he's AEW now.
Yeah, he's in AEW.
Chris Jericho wanted to do the right thing. He donated to Demar Hamlin's charity during the week, and he had donated $5,000. Well, Chris Jericho might not know how to spell his own name. because he misspelled it, caught it, and then donated another $5,000 to his charity with the correct spelled name. Now, normally this would just be a tinkle on this if we eliminate the donations, but because it was for a good cause, and at the end of the day, nobody really lost except Chris Jericho, another $5,000, but it was for a good cause.
He's got enough money.
Yeah.
He's got 2 bands, and then he's got AEW. So
yeah,
I'm sure 5,000 is probably pocket change for him at this point.
Yeah. So Chris Jericho, tinkle on this. But let me be clear, it's not a total tinkle on this. We want to say thanks for doing the right thing. Thanks for being such a great contributor to this charity. Of course, I will have the link in the description to the charity if you all wish to donate. So be sure to check it out. On that note, I want to give a little, before I ask Jason what's coming up on No Final Bell, I just want to give a little bit of an update on 2 programs here. Of course, we start with this one. We will have picks next Saturday for the playoff games, and the following Saturday for the divisional round playoff games. So expect those to come. They will be short videos. It'll only be on YouTube at 9 a.m. Eastern both Saturdays, the 14th and the 21st. Our regular show will remain on Sunday. And then, of course, beyond that will just be Sundays going forward. As far as Out of Turn 4 goes, for those who don't know, Out of Turn 4 has been on hiatus since November. We have a little bit of a wacky schedule that's going to be coming your way for the month of February. Of course, we kick things off with the season premiere. It'll be on Saturday, February 4th at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Facebook Watch. It'll be our 2023 Motorsports Season Preview show with all the off-season news. And, of course, we'll make our Clash pick for that week. And, of course, then we will be off that Tuesday. We will be back on February 17th. So we'll be back 2 weeks later at noon Eastern on Friday, February 17th. It'll be YouTube, Facebook Watch. That'll be our Daytona 500 special. And then after the 17th, we'll be back on our Tuesday slot. But again, just 2 specials. And then after the 500, we'll be back to our normal position on the schedule. So with that, though, speaking of schedule, what's coming up on No Final Bell?
Yeah, so Dynamite and Rampage has got a brand new look. Going to be they're ushering in a brand new era into AEW Dynamite and Rampage. The stage actually looks pretty nice. They got rid of the kind of like the entrance ramps. They're kind of like, it's kind of hard to explain that unless you see the picture. But they changed the whole entire look and a feel of Dynamite and Rampage. It's a star-studded Dynamite Rampage. Adam Hangman Page has been cleared. He's going to face off against Jon Moxley next Wednesday. So definitely look forward to us talk about Dynamite and Rampage. I haven't seen any of it. Oh, and also Battle of the Belts 5. That's also going to be talked about. So it's going to be Dynamite, Rampage, Battle Belts 5, and then also Impact Wrestling for the week. So definitely be looking forward to that. Also, unfortunately, sad news is rest in peace to Don West, legendary voice of Impact Wrestling for so many years. It sucks because Mike Tenay, who was his partner forever, was the first one to issue out the news that of his passing, and then all of the other news articles and wrestling, I guess, pages have announced of his passing. So sad to see him pass, and we want to offer up our condolences to the West family there. So fortunately, it always seems to have a lot of bad news. So that past week episode of No Final Bell, first couple minutes was talking about Demar Hamlin and then talking about Don West. So it was a little sad, but we were able to get on a good note through the rest of the episode. So definitely check it out. It is on YouTube. I don't know if it's on Facebook Watch as of yet, but I definitely know it's out on YouTube on our main channel.
Well, be sure to check that out. We hope next week's round of shows will be a little bit more positive. Hopefully we won't have more sad news to report, because I feel like the last 3 to 4 weeks, even on this show, we've had to open up with bad news, whether it's Pele or Franco Harris or Demar Hamlin. So we hope next show we can actually have some positive news and not have another serious issue come up. So again, be sure to tune in. We'll be back with you on Saturday with our NFL picks on YouTube. Otherwise, we'll see you back here on Sunday, another edition of Sunday Morning Tinkle. Until then, goodbye everyone.